It's 11:59 at Gun Owners Radio, and this is the Penn Patriot, music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I've got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, and another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind American lines, this is your song.
All right, Gun Owners Radio, we make activism easy. It's July the 13th, 2025. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for listening to Gun Owners Radio. Tired of feeling like no one's standing up for your Second Amendment rights? Well, Gun Owners Radio is your weekly dose of real talk, real solutions, and a community that's fighting back right here in California. We bring you the stories, strategies, and insider info to help you stay informed to make the difference. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, do it now. What are you waiting for? It's free, it helps the cause, and it helps to keep you in the fight. Together, we will win. All right, Gun Owners Radio comes to you here from a studio at Discount Gun Mart. Have you considered becoming a member of Discount Gun Mart? Memberships start off at just $24 per month and include free unlimited range time. While you're on the internet, go to our website at gunownersradio.com and sign up to get our emails so that you know what's happening in the Second Amendment community.
Check out the CGF sweepstakes. It is a Kel-Tec Sub 2000 GLK. If you don't know, the Sub 2000 is a folding pistol caliber carbine. It folds right in half. You can enter the sweepstakes by going to cagunrights.org.
How cool is that Kel-Tec, everybody?
It's pretty awesome. I was actually just saying,
I know, it looks good.
Yeah, I'm not normally a Kel-Tec fan, but I'm like, looking at it, I kind of want one, so.
I kind of want one too. And CGF is doing really, really good things. CGF has a great history. We've interviewed the founder, Gene, before, and there are really good things in the future for CGF, especially right here in California, really only right here in California. They're filing California lawsuits. So not only is the Kel-Tec cool, the organization is awesome. So check them out.
All right, now it's time for the Gun Truth of the Week.
Gun Truth of the Week. Think you'll never need a gun? These 1.67 million people disagree. The Crime Prevention Research Center, the CPRC, is a nonprofit research and education organization founded in 2013 by Dr. John Lott Jr., a well-known economist and author of More Guns, Less Crime. The CPRC mission is to conduct research on laws regulating the ownership or the use of firearms and to analyze the impact of gun ownership on crime rates. Here is one small example of their work. Americans use firearms to stop crimes about 1.67 million times each year, according to a 2021 analysis of CDC data done by the Crime Prevention Research Center. I've got to say, I don't think any of us are that surprised to hear that there are so many, Americans using firearms to stop crimes. It's just unfortunate that we don't hear more about it in the media. What do you guys think?
Absolutely agree. And I think that number is likely underreported and realistically significantly higher.
Definitely. I'm sure there's plenty of cases where people don't even call it in.
And not only that, but I want to make sure that people understand what it means that 1.67 million people, stop some kind of crime or violent attack or something like that. Doesn't necessarily mean they're pulling the trigger. In fact, in the vast majority of cases, they are not pulling a trigger. Just having a firearm, just saying, "Hey, I have a gun," or being able to pull a gun and will diffuse a situation, will stop an attacker, will make a robber flee. So it's not like there's 1.67 million shootings per year. It's just that people use their gun as a shield rather than a sword, and I think that's an important point to make.
Definitely. I also think this is using the CDC data, and we don't necessarily think of the CDC as coming out with very gun positive pro Second Amendment data, right? So this is using their own data to come up with that number. So I thought that was an interesting piece as well, but there we have it.
It is. And Dr. Lott, I'll tell you one more thing before we move on. Dr. Lott, for those who don't know, he wasn't a gun guy who decided to start doing statistics. He was an economist, and he was a professor. And someone approached him and said, hey, could you do some crime statistics? Because, you know, an economist doesn't just deal with money. They deal with a lot of different kinds of statistics and trends and that sort of thing. So he used his training as an economist to start evaluating crime statistics and crime data. And he came out with results that were very pro-Second Amendment. But that doesn't mean he's necessarily a pro-Second Amendment guy. It means that the facts are the facts. So the other side, the anti-gun side, like to attack him and say he's the shill for the NRA, even though he receives no funding from the NRA. And he's not a gun guy. No one came to him and said, hey, we need some pro-Second Amendment statistics. Go out and see what you can do. He simply started crunching numbers, and the facts came out exactly how we know them, which is the most effective self-defense tool in America is a firearm. Get one, train with it, carry it, get a permit, carry it everywhere you go. That's the reality of life.
Dr. Lott was a keynote speaker at the A Girl and a Gun National Conference in May, and one of the things he was talking about in his speech was kind of the concept that as he was doing this research, he was like, oh, this is surprising, and then he like did another study, and he's like, wait, I'm finding the same thing, you know? So it's kind of this experience for him where even he was surprised by what he was finding because it was so countercultural.
Well, why don't we do the Q&As? All right, every week you guys have questions and we have answers. We pull them from all kinds of different sources. You email them, text them. Sometimes there are questions in the comments section. This week was a particularly good question and actually caused us to come up with a new tool for you guys, which I'm really, really happy about that. Brian emailed and said, I'm looking into getting my FFL 03/COE. And I was wondering if you guys had a tutorial or class on how to properly fill everything out. Any information would be greatly appreciated. Well, Brian, we went one step further. We actually created a checklist. Now, for those who don't know, first let's talk about what an FFL 03 is and what a COE is. So who wants to take FFL 03?
I'll do it. So the FFL 03, that's a curio and relic. So people who are into older firearms, historical things. So the curios and relics is an interesting kind of FFL category to get, and there's actually some great benefits to it. The curios and relics refers to the firearms that are special interest to collectors due to their age, historical significance, or unique characteristics. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, right? Get it right. And explosives issues a specific CNR license allowing holders to acquire and collect these firearms. There's some benefits to that. Some of the benefits are that they get to avoid those DROS fees in part, and they get discounts from online retailers at points. They also can get permits and other firearms that may not be allowed by the public in general. So there's some benefits to it. But it's different than a straight up sales FFL. So
doesn't it also allow you to get ammunition shipped to you? Isn't there kind of a benefit there? Okay.
Yep.
If you have an FFL 03 and a COE, you can order ammunition directly to your house. Mm-hmm. You don't have to go through a gun shop.
Right.
So an FFL 03, curios and relics, and then a COE is...
They're two separate things.
Dakota, you want to tell everybody what a COE is?
Yeah, so the COE is a certificate of eligibility, and basically you'd go through CFARS, which is the California Firearms Application Reporting System, and you can apply for a certificate of eligibility through them, and it's basically the Department of Justice saying that, yes, you've passed your background check, you're not prohibited from possessing or acquiring firearms. And it's essentially like a prerequisite license or a permit for anybody who's interested in becoming like an ammunition dealer or a firearms dealer, a DOJ certified instructor. So anybody who teaches CCW classes for California, they have to have their COE ahead of becoming a certified instructor through the Department of Justice. So it's just kind of like an initial background check process, and then they issue you a COE saying, yes, you are eligible to become an instructor in the future, or you're eligible to become an FFL in the future. And that COE application process is actually pretty quick and easy. You've got to wait for the background check, but the paperwork is very simple. What is something you've got to remember and put it in your calendar is that it doesn't last for very long. So it's only good for a year. And so I've got, renewal reminders in my phone's calendar so that I don't accidentally miss one. But it'll be valid for that 1 year, and then you can just continue renewing it. And it could be revoked in the future. The Department of Justice could decide later on that you are, prohibited from owning or possessing firearms, or they might make you go through an additional check. But in general, the COE is just going to allow you to do all the paperwork for the FFL and instructors and things like that a little bit easier.
Gun shops also require a COE for all employees. Anybody handling firearms?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did is we actually came up with a checklist. Now, we're not attorneys. It's not legal advice. We did our very best to compile what we believe are all the steps, but there may be additional steps you have to take. You can at least use this as a guide. It's our FFL 03 and COE checklist, and it really only applies to the state of California. And it's four steps. Now, they're kind of intricate steps, but they're basically 4 steps. The first is prepare. Want to make sure that you're at least 21, that you live in California, and that you understand what an FFL 03 is. It's for basically collecting and not necessarily dealing. Step 2, you're going to actually apply for your FFL 03, and we have a link to the form that's required. You're going to write a $30 check to the ATF, and then we actually have the address in West Virginia where you need to mail it. You mail a copy of the FFL application in your local CLEO, usually to your county sheriff. That's going to vary wherever you are, depending on where you are in California. And that's going to take about 2 months. And then step 3 is your COE. And as Dakota explained, you go through CFARS to get your COE. And there's a small fee that may vary. You have to get a live scan. It's basically a big background check. And then there's some step 4 is after your approval. You have to store everything in a safe place. You have to have a log for all your CNR firearms. And there are some steps that the ATF wants you to stay on top of. And then we actually even have some optional steps on how you can stay prepared and informed. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take that DOR checklist, the FFL 03 COE checklist, and we're going to put it up on the Gun Owners Radio website so that you can find it. And if you're interested in getting your FFL 03, this is going to be a great checklist. It's going to be a nice guide to help you get started and get going. With that, you can start a collection, you can start getting ammo shipped to your house, and all kinds of cool stuff. So there you go. Thank you, Brian, for writing. I think that this is going to be a very cool, useful tool.
Yeah, that's an awesome checklist. Definitely makes it very easy and simple. I know sometimes the Department of Justice website and CFARS, they don't make it easy to figure this stuff out. So it's nice to have it all in one place.
Yeah.
All right, so this segment is our legal and legislative segment where we tell you what you need to know from the courts and from the legislators. Remember that we are not lawyers and nothing we say is legal advice. Our sponsor, John Dillon, is a lawyer, and he has been helping people to fight those GVROs. Remember, those are gun violence restraining orders, plus more. So if you or somebody that you know has had their self-defense rights taken away without due process, give John a call. His website is dillonlawgp.com, and his phone number is 760-642-7150.
Okay, so there was actually a very cool decision that came out this week that was a victory, not just for the Second Amendment, but especially for the First Amendment, really. This was Junior Sports Magazine versus Bonta. And basically what happened was California passed AB 2571, which broadly restricts firearm advertising and marketing, especially to minors. So if you were putting out some kind of advertisement that, hey, we're having an educational class designed for kids or teens, this made it illegal. It actually had some pretty serious fines if you violated this. So Junior Sports Magazine said, hey, this isn't right. We're going to sue. And, you know, there are a lot of junior classes for teens, for Boy Scouts, for kids, safety classes, proficiency classes. There are a lot of educational classes for regarding firearms for minors. So this really truly affected people. And a lot of the organizations that put these classes on certainly can't afford hefty fines from the state of California.
No.
So they took it to court, did a great job. The Ninth Circuit previously ruled that AB 2571 violated the First Amendment's commercial speech protections. So Junior Sports Magazine versus Bonta, it said, hey, you know what? You guys are covered under the commercial speech protections. So as long as, you know, a commercial entity is doing something, you know, they have free speech in order to advertise what they're doing. On remand, the district court actually enjoined just the advertising prohibition, but allowed enforcement of the data collection prohibition. So there were two pieces to this. There was a, hey, come to our class. And then there was a, hey, give us your email address or your phone number so that we can keep you updated on what's going on with our classes and that sort of thing. So the data collection prohibition actually barred using minors' personal information for marketing, which is really broad. You know, it could just have been as simple as an email list. You know, hey, if you want to be on our email list, you can be.
Right.
So rejecting that partial relief as an abuse of discretion, the appellate court clarified that the same constitutional defects apply to both subsections, since subsection B also imposes a content-based restriction on speech. So the court reversed and directed a full preliminary injunction against the entire section of code, penal code that is, of AB 2571, which was Penal Code 22949.80 for those of you who are particularly interested in reading the entire code. It enjoined enforcement of both advertising and data collection prohibitions. Now, I want to read you a couple of quotes on this from a Judge Van Dyke. He was a part of this decision. You may remember Judge Van Dyke, who made a video a couple of months ago explaining that the judges on the Ninth Circuit Court, or at least too many of them, didn't truly understand firearms. The video went viral and everybody reported on it. Clearly, Judge Van Dyke understands the Second Amendment. So let me give you a couple of quotes from the decision here. Quote, California wants to legislate views about firearms, end quote. In this, he really underscores that AB 2751 selectively targets speech that promotes lawful gun use among minors, and it's favoring certain viewpoints. That's why this is really a First Amendment case. It certainly involves the Second Amendment, but they were limiting, government was limiting speech that they didn't approve of. Next quote. Quote, certain speakers, firearm industry members, who want to promote the sale of firearms to minors, however, are silenced. So Van Dyke emphasized that the statute imposes a viewpoint-based restriction by selectively silencing one side of the debate. Quote, I write separately to emphasize that laws like AB 2751, which attempt to use the coercive power of the state to eliminate a viewpoint from public discourse, deserve strict scrutiny. end quote. So here he is insisting that the nature of this viewpoint discrimination in commercial speech warrants the highest level of constitutional scrutiny. I feel that that last quote really encapsulate best exactly why they ruled against this. So in essence, what's going on is the restrictions that the state of California had on advertising classes, safety classes, products, proficiency, safety, all these other things to minors has been struck down and ruled against. And that is a huge victory, not just for the First Amendment, but the Second Amendment as well.
Definitely. I'm excited for this change for sure. One of the things that A Girl and a Gun and my chapter used to advertise was like a mommy and me class for gun safety. And so we really took all of that, basically all of our, minor focused curriculum off of the table when this passed, and we stopped advertising that we allow, minors at our events, and that as long as you have a guardian with you, you're allowed to come. Like, we completely stopped all of that advertising because we were worried about, like you mentioned earlier, the repercussions were actually pretty severe for infractions of this. And then we also saw that, websites like the NRA and different gun manufacturers were having you put in your birth date before you could even access the website. So for those of you who noticed a while ago, a year or so ago, 2 years ago, that you started having to put your birth date in before you could get to the NRA website, that was partially because of this decision, because they wanted to make sure that minors weren't able to access the website, as the law was so unclear as far as what was considered advertising to minors. So then, people were concerned about, oh, well, what if we sell a 22 that's pink or a 22 that looks, child-sized? Is that automatically a violation because we're advertising a firearm specifically for the use among minors? So it was a really interesting overreach. I thought there was no chance it was going to stay, and it looks like it turned out okay for us, but it was definitely a weird time there for a while. And so I'm excited that it's gone for now and hopefully forever, and we'll be advertising more mom and me classes and stuff like that in the future because of this decision. So
it's fantastic. Yeah, I work with youth in a variety of different ways. Within the homeschool community, I work with a number of homeschool groups and things, and every year I would take groups of homeschool youth, teach them safety, because really what this is preventing us from teaching them safety.
Yeah.
Right? Kids can't buy guns, right? Really what this is preventing instructors from being able to teach kids to respect and to have safe, proper handling of a firearm when they have the permission to do so, right? It's preventing safety, which I have a problem with. I'm so thankful that it's come through the way it's come through, and it's about time.
Yeah, I was getting a lot of phone calls from different clubs and organizations, and they were really, truly worried. It's amazing how many gun safety classes there are for kids, which I think is a good thing. Teaching kids how to stay safe with firearms is exactly the whole point. That's exactly the preventative measure we should be taking.
Right.
And making people into criminals, into lawbreakers for teaching kids how to be safe.
Right.
And like the judge said, forcing silence on an opinion that you disagree with and using the force of government to do that. That whole thing is so fetid and gross. I'm really glad that this got struck down.
Yeah, there's something, I think this just happened a few days ago. I saw some headlines about it, but there's something similar where I think Canik was advertising on a billboard in Oakland, and there's some kind of city rule that basically says you can't advertise anything to do with firearms or ammunition without a permit from like the Oakland PD. And so Canik had to take down the billboard. And it's like, at what point are these First Amendment, violations of speech and even advertising, at what point are these going to be something that's just unacceptable, that cities can't get away with passing those kinds of laws because nobody will stand for that. So we'll see. This is a good step in the right direction, I think.
Very much so. All right, that's our legislative and legal segment.
All right, those are the bills and the lawsuits, so now you know. But what can you do about it? Well, now it's time to check out our deployment segment to find out.
Okay, deployment. Now that you know what's going on, you need to know how to be involved. And this segment is brought to you by SageTree, sagetree.com. Go to SageTree for all your digital marketing needs, your website needs. They're absolutely wonderful. We use them, so should you. First thing I want to talk about, extremely important, it's coming up August 6th at 6 p.m., our San Diego County Gunners Mayoral Summer Summit. So what we've done is we have 4 mayors who are pro-Second Amendment, and we are bringing them to Alicia's that they're in their banquet room, which is a really nice restaurant. And we're going to feed you, and we're going to introduce you to them. You're going to get a chance to talk to them directly and take a picture with them if you like. And then they're going to talk about the Second Amendment in their community, and they're going to talk about their community in general so that you know what's going on in politics locally right here in San Diego. Mayors are truly where the rubber meets the road. So you can listen to the Trump administration, you can listen to senators, you can listen to the assembly or senators or whatever. But where the rubber meets the road, the actual, hey, this is exactly what's truly going on when it comes to public policy. Well, that's your local mayor. So we have the mayor of Carlsbad, Keith Blackburn, the mayor of Vista, John Franklin, the mayor of Escondido, Dane White, and the mayor of El Cajon, Bill Wells, all coming together for one night. And we need you to join us. So if you go to sdcgo.org, you can purchase tickets. They're only $20. It comes with food, it comes with fellowship, and it comes with fun. So go now, buy as soon as you can. It's space is limited, but right now there's still some tickets left, but that won't last long. So August 6th, 6 p.m., come and join us.
Looking forward to it. I'm going to be there.
It's going to be a great event.
Good.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tabletops and shooting socials. We talk about this every week. Can't talk about it enough, though. If you go to sdcgo.org/volunteer, you can help us with our shooting socials and our tabletops. Both are super fun and easy. Both help us get information into the community, and both help us grow resistance to what's going on here when it comes to your Second Amendment rights in California. We teach people to be gun owners, and we show them how to get involved at the tabletops. So please join us. All you got to do is set some time aside, go check out the calendar of events that we have, and then commit to giving us like half a day. If everybody, for every single one of our members, gave us half a day once a year, we would have a very different political environment, not just in San Diego, but in California. So commit to doing it. Come out and have fun. We'll show you how. It's easy. We organize it. Again, we make activism easy. Intro to Modern Off-Grid Communications. That's happening on July 26th, which is just a couple of weeks away. This is part of being a prepared protector. It's being an asset to your family and your community. When disaster strikes, communication is one of the first things that goes down. So you want to learn to stay connected and informed. Register at the Gun Owners Radio website for this intro to modern off-grid communications. Prepared Protector First Aid for Gun Owners, August 23rd. This is El Cajon. It's $280, $281. Get the training, get the gear, get the confidence, knowing you're prepared. Do not miss this Prepared Protector First Aid for Gun Owners class. You can sign up at gunownersradio.com. And then mark your calendars. Masad Ayub is returning in September 4 and 5. This is live fire class at Lemon Grove Rod and Gun. September 6th and 7th is the classroom. And that's, again, here in San Diego. The location is to be determined. The live fire class is $620. The classroom class is $500. That's the lecture. And we'll also have a dinner on September 3rd. And details on that will be finalized. So save the date. You don't want to wait on this, man. Last time he was in town, we had a lot of people who waited, and they waited too long, and they couldn't take the class that they wanted to take. So sign up for this ASAP. I don't know how many more times he's going to come to Southern California. This actually might be the last. So if you want to train with a legend, Masad Ayub, take advantage of it. Super, super quick. Okay, so that's the deployment. I wanted to do something kind of different. First thing I wanted to do is we have somebody on our crew who had a birthday this week. And I want to wish a very happy birthday to Desi. Those of you who are involved in the organization know Desi well. She organizes the shooting socials, but mostly her big job is she runs our women's program, our Not Me program. She teaches women how to purchase a firearm, how to get training, how to get their permit. She pairs people up with experienced folks that help guide them through the process, and she has done a wonderful job. So I wanted to take a second and wish Desi a very happy birthday today.
Happy birthday, Desi.
Happy birthday.
Okay, so what I wanted to do differently is we really do have an amazing crew. We have a lot of people that are involved in this organization that do an amazing job. And we have been doing this radio show for years, and we haven't really stopped to talk about some of the crew on Gun Owners Radio. So, Alicia,
Yes.
I wanted to start with you. Tell us the story. How did you get involved in firearms ownership?
So it's kind of a funny thing. So I grew up, zero exposure, none. And then I got married, and I married a man who was in law enforcement. Of course, a sidearm was going to be on his hip, coming home every day from work. And so the prudent thing to do was to take me to the range so that I would become at least familiar or comfortable enough with it. Should I ever need it, that kind of thing. I needed to have some skills, right? So he took me to the range, and gosh, it was nearly 30 years ago. And, he took me once, and I had a great time. I loved it. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. I wanted to go again. I wanted to go back more. For him, it was work. He didn't enjoy it. He didn't want to go. It was always, maybe next time, maybe next week, not today, so it just never happened. So about 15 to 20 years ago, I decided, I enjoy this. This is fun. I had a friend who invited me to the range, and I thought, you know what? Yeah, let's go. And so it kind of became a fun girl thing that a good friend of mine and I would do. Our husbands didn't want to go. It became our thing. And we quickly realized we didn't know what we were doing. We needed some help. So we took training. We took training after training. That, you meet people in the community, right? The gun community is a wonderful community of people. And we just kind of happened to come upon an opportunity to apply for a reality TV show. This friend of mine and I both applied. We were both accepted. And what's kind of funny is the show never ended up airing, but it was filmed. So we had an opportunity for a fantastic week of training with a local company here in San Diego County. And there was some drama. The episode was scrubbed. It wasn't aired, but it was a great experience. It really just embedded even deeper in me my love for this, my passion for this. It was great fun. And along the way, I just continued to just dive in, do training after training. And I eventually had somebody that kind of took me under and said, hey, what do you think about doing this for you? Right? You might be good at this kind of thing. And I took that and ran.
Like a trainer? Somebody, a
Yes.
trainer took you under their wing?
Correct. So it was just a great opportunity. It wasn't something I was looking for. I was a stay-at-home mom. Eventually, towards, in more recent years, I did begin starting to teach high school. So I was essentially teaching, I was a high school teacher for a bit. And this was not something I was looking for, right? Firearms was something I enjoyed. But through the process of becoming an instructor and just kind of getting rolling with this and working with people, I realized I've got a passion for this. I've got an interest and a love for this. I really enjoy it. I like to think I'm good at it, and it's just something that I wasn't looking for, but I'm glad and thankful that I found it. So,
So, I mean, so is it fair to say, so you started with just like hey, if this thing's going to be in our house,
Right.
then I should just know how it works.
Right.
Just kind of a safety/curiosity.
Right.
But
And
then the rest of it was like, this is fun. It was
Right.
just kind of this is a cool hobby.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I was good at it. I liked it. And I will tell you from experience, one lesson was not enough. So for people, I will tell you, I know I work with a lot of people too who will come in, well, my husband wants me to do this, because it's in the house and you take one lesson. One lesson's not enough. And I will tell you, my one time out there was not enough. It's not enough. It is a perishable skill. But yeah, that's actually, that's how it started. Absolutely.
When did it, was there a point that it occurred to you that, hey, this is a self-defense tool?
That came later, much later. Early on, honestly, for me, no. For me, it was more of a hobby. It was something that I challenged myself to do well in. The whole self-defense aspect came much later, probably right around the time that San Diego County Gun Owners was fighting and getting the rights for the CCW. That's when it was big. I was starting to hear a lot about it because I was in the gun community, and that's really what kind of prodded and poked me to kind of wake up to that aspect of it. Because honestly, to me, up until that point, carry wasn't an option, and I was just doing it more as a hobby for fun. So that came later.
Was there ever a time when it felt empowering? Was there ever a time when you thought, man, this really does, I overcame this thing. I learned how to use it. I'm actually not just knowledgeable, but I'm actually really proficient at this thing. Right. And oh, by the way, if anything bad ever happens to me, I at least have a fighting chance with it. You know what I mean? Was that ever something that occurred to you or happened?
So yes. So I would say, though, it took me a couple lessons in before I really kind of woke up to that. And yes, so there, a few lessons in, I realized I was becoming proficient. It becomes becoming natural, where I could do the function without thinking, and that's when that empowerment came for me. As far as the self-defense aspect, that did take a little bit more time for me to kind of get into that mode. And so it came about the time, come to think of it. That's when I bought my own firearm. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
what was your first firearm?
So my first firearm, I call it my first big girl gun because I went out and bought it all by myself. Right. I didn't even tell my husband wasn't too happy, because he found out about it later. It wasn't something I even talked to him about. I just went. I went and bought because in one of our lessons that I had used a rental. Right. And I really liked that rental. And so I went out to a shop and I thought, what, I've used it. I liked it. I'm going to buy it. So what did I buy? I bought a Smith & Wesson MP40. And the year that I bought it, it was the last year that you were able to buy it before it dropped off and, the roster and all of that. I want to say, gosh, it must have been December of 2012. I had to get it, though, through a single shot exception. So I had to kind of hunt to find a shop that would do the single shot modification in order for me to be able to buy it. Because even at that point in time, it was not able to be openly bought. So I wonder if it might have been 2013 when the roster kind of was going more. But yeah, that was my first gun, was an MP40.
That's not a bad first gun. I thought it was going to be a lot more embarrassing the way you kind of reacted. That's not a bad first gun.
No, I like it. It's got a special place in my heart. I'm not so keen on the 40, kind of, but I like the gun itself. It's a great gun. I actually, when I bought it, what they had available was the Pro Series, so I kind of got the upgraded model with the better trigger. It came with night sights. It kind of came with some goodies and things that were kind of nice. So yeah, that's my first gun that I bought all by myself.
So talk about, what was the decision? You were a teacher by trade.
Correct.
Talk about the decision, though, to actually start being an instructor, like a professional paid instructor that people take lessons from. What was behind that decision?
So I was doing it already unofficially without credentials and insurance. for a period of time. As far as kind of getting into where I'm at now, that actually came about through joining A Girl and a Gun with Dakota and Judy Wells back in the day. And then there was an opportunity presented. They were looking for a female instructor here at Discount Gun Mart. So it kind of, one person, you meet another, and through relationships, things happen. I wasn't looking for it. I didn't ask for it. It was offered to me, and that's kind of how it came to be. And so, and yeah, that's how I ended up here and doing what I do.
What about other things in the firearm industry? I know you've mentioned before that you're like a plaintiff on a case. Are there other ways that you've gotten involved that you really enjoy?
I kind of have lots of little things in lots of different places, right? Little pokers and then lots of different fires. I do work here at Discount Gun Mart as an instructor. I run primarily private instruction here. That's what I do for the most part. On occasion, I'll do group classes and things like that. I can, run BSIS quals. I can do post quals and things like that. I do all those here. In addition to that, as you mentioned, I'm a plaintiff on the Richards v. Bonta case. So you and I are both plaintiffs on that one, right? So absolutely, and I'm open. If there are any other lawsuits out there looking for plaintiffs, I'm in. Give me a call. In addition to that, I do also work for another training company running CCW courses. And separate from that, I am on that CCW list independently myself, and I do run private CCW courses as well. So my wheelhouse is not really well defined. I do a little bit of everything. I will tell you my passion, if you were to ask me what my passion is, handguns. I'm not huge on rifle. I'm not huge on shotgun. I do it. I run it. I understand it. Right. I teach it. But my passion is more handgun, and specifically defensive handgun is where my passion is. So
now I've never met someone who is as comfortable. I've never met a woman who is as comfortable being in a group of, sweaty gun guys, as you are. And it's funny because you're very, long blonde hair. You're obviously, you're very feminine. But when I see you with a group of gun guys, you fit right in. Mm-hmm. You're not uncomfortable. You're very assertive. You're still yourself. You know what I mean? It's a very sincere thing. Right. But have you ever felt, has it ever been intimidating or uncomfortable being in a male dominated industry or a male dominated hobby?
So from a professional perspective, no, because for me, when I got to that point to where I began instructing and working with people, I had already built up confidence. I had built up, a passion. I'd built myself up, and it's been fine. I will tell you my personality from the beginning, right back to school. I've always gotten along better with men, to be honest. I work better in that environment. I don't do well with drama. I don't do well kind of in that picky, mm-hmm. kind of women environment where drama can be high. I do better with men in general anyway. But as far as my comfort in this wheelhouse, I will tell you it was probably shortly before I bought my first gun all by myself. My husband did take me into a gun shop just to look, right? And I was very intimidated going in. He was with me. I went in. I didn't remember a darn thing from that first range day that he and I had. It was before I had really kind of gotten into training on my own. So when I walked into this gun shop, I was afraid. I was thinking, I don't want to be embarrassed if they offer me a gun to handle and to pick up and to try and hold. I don't want to look stupid and hold it wrong, right? I did. I felt really intimidated. And so that... absolutely. And that shortly thereafter was when I began doing more lessons. And when I became comfortable in my own way with the firearm, that's when my confidence grew. And the aspect of it being a very obviously it's a male-dominated industry. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Never been an issue for me. I feel like I fit in just fine as far as I know I do. And I have no issue. I can hold my own. So
I agree. What about Gun Owners Radio? When you were invited to come on Gun Owners Radio, how did you feel about coming on Gun Owners Radio? And then what do you like about Gun Owners Radio? You've been on for a few years now.
I think it's been about 3 years. No, it's fun. So me personally, the whole political, administrative, legal side has not been something that I had heavily spent a lot of time in before. So for me, it's been a great wake up to see the behind the scenes things, the reality of hard work and what needs to be done. Right, the knowing, I knew that it didn't come easy as far as gun rights and the fight to give us the freedoms to do the things that we would like to do and that we should be able to do. But I'm seeing it kind of from the other side, which has been a great eye opening experience for me. I think it's been great. It's for me, it's been fantastic just to see that side and to see the reality of how hard is the work and just knowing and appreciating the work that you do, Mike, and others that are in the Second Amendment community that fight for it. Because that's what it's taught me, is it's shown me that side of it.
Well, it's interesting. You guys, Alicia and Dakota, are both on Gun Owners Radio for the exact same reason. And that what happened was Rich and I basically said, all right, we need to get another voice. Let's kind of cycle some folks in and see who we like, and then invite them to be a more permanent part of the show. And both of you, we got it right on the first try, is what I'm trying to say. So both of you were the first person that came in when we decided to do that, and just then we couldn't get rid of you. But the Dakota, how did you come to firearms? What was your journey?
Yeah, so I grew up just outside of Chicago in a home with no guns. We did not really talk about guns. I think when you grow up close to the city, and especially a city like that has so much gang-related violence and things like that, there's this kind of concept that guns are scary, they're bad guys use them to kill people. And so, I never heard a gunshot and thought, oh, that might be a good guy defending themselves, right? I always heard gunshots and thought, oh, somebody just killed someone, And so there was never really a desire and interest in learning about guns when I was a kid. I think no one in my immediate family was anti-gun. It was just something we didn't really talk about. And so when I was, I think, probably about 10 or 12, a friend of the family had offered to have me go with their kids, and they were all going to go out to a farm, and I guess we shot some 22 rifles. I actually don't even remember this, and I was being interviewed, and he listened to the interview and was like, wait, you weren't 15 the first time you shot a gun? Because you shot a gun with me when you were a kid. So apparently it didn't leave a big negative impression or positive impression, because I didn't even remember that had happened. But then when I was 15, I shot a handgun for the first time. And I remember thinking, oh, this is actually maybe something that could be fun. And I had never thought about guns that way in my life. And so that was kind of just something that sat in the back of my head for a lot of years. And I didn't really shoot a lot more, in high school or anything like that. But we had moved to Colorado at that point. And so the last few years of my high school ages, my friends were, hunting. It was kind of normal there that people would just have rifle racks in their truck. And so it was just a totally different culture than how I had grown up. And so I got to kind of see a little bit of that as I was, living in Colorado. And so from there, I moved to San Diego for college and didn't really think about, firearms at all, probably for the first few years of college. My, at the time, boyfriend, now fiance, and we're getting married this year, but at the time we were just dating, we were babies, and we had gotten our first apartment together, and he had just turned 21. And so we had this conversation of oh, should we have a gun for the house? And we kind of decided yeah, that's a good idea. We might as well have one just kind of for general safety and for fun. And we went to the range a few times together, and I thought it was fun. When I was still 20, there was a situation in our apartment complex where the police had to come, and I gave a witness statement about a crime I had witnessed. And the guy who was getting arrested actually saw me come out and started yelling and saying he knew where I lived and he was going to come back. And so that experience just scared me, and I thought, okay, if somebody were to actually come break into our apartment, what would I do? And I asked the cops who had shown up to take the report, hey, my boyfriend has a gun, could I use his gun if I needed to? And they were like, well, actually, no, since you're not married. In California, he's supposed to have it locked, and you're not even supposed to have access to it since you're not 21. And so when I turned 21, I was like, all right, since we're not married and I technically can't use your gun, I'm going to get my own. And then I used that gun a few times at the range, and I felt kind of incompetent, I guess. I felt like I could shoot. I was accurate. I could hit the target, but I was so scared if the gun malfunctioned or if it went empty when I wasn't expecting it to. I was like, oh, how do I make sure there's not a round still in the chamber? I just didn't feel confident manipulating the firearm. And so at that point, I was like, it's a little silly that I have this gun, but if Nathan wasn't home, I wouldn't even be able to use it on my own. So I looked around for shooting classes in San Diego, and I found a girl and a gun, and that's what started it all.
By the way, I know this is just part of your story, but I don't think that information is accurate that if you're under 21, you can't have access to someone else's gun. That's not true. I know it's what you were told. It's part of your story, but
the only person,
as long as you're 18.
The only reason that access wasn't allowed, I think, is because we're not married. If we were married and I was 20, then I would have been allowed to have access to the firearm. But if you have a firearm in the home and you're not there, like giving that person permission, they're not allowed to have access to the safe. So like my boyfriend wasn't allowed to let me have the safe code, if that makes sense. If he was home, he was going to be the one handling the gun anyway, right? So the question I posed to the responding officers were like, if I'm home alone, can I get his gun out of the safe and use it? And they said you could, but then he could get in trouble because it's actually illegal for him to allow you access to the safe. So that's how it was explained to me at the time. I think the law is still similar.
Well, California, I got it right here. California.
There's a lot of nuance.
Yes.
There's a lot of nuance there, but I don't want to get dragged down into that. But go ahead, Alicia.
I'll just say California Penal Code 25100 does give permission if it's obtained and discharged in a lawful act of self-defense. But the key thing is you can't have access to it until the moment you would be justified and you need it. So if you have open access, just in case, that's not covered.
Yeah. Interesting.
So Dakota, you're kind of the same way in that I have never seen you uncomfortable in any situation, let alone a situation where there's a bunch of sweaty guys with guns, out on a range or whatever. You seem unafraid. But was there ever a time that you were intimidated because it was a male-dominated hobby or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're new, when you feel timid or nervous about your own skill level, that is going to kind of leak out in any environment you're in, right? And so like if I went to the range on my own and I was trying to, shoot at, let's say I went to DGM and there was a guy next to me who was giving me advice or something, sometimes I would feel uncomfortable or feel awkward or like maybe I'm not ready to be here by myself. But once I kind of built the confidence of, okay, I know how to run my gun, I know how to clear malfunctions, I know how to, manage a problem if it were to happen. I think from there, I didn't really experience that level of fear or concern again because I felt confident in my ability to kind of solve my own problems. One thing I will say is that the Second Amendment community is definitely male-dominated and competition shooting is definitely male-dominated. I've been in lots of classes where I'm the only woman in the whole class. But I will say that for the most part, the vast majority of men in this industry want women to have a good experience and want you to have fun, and they're very nice and very welcoming. So there's only been a handful of times where I felt like people were being mean or rude or something because I was a girl, and those are people that I don't care about their opinions anyway, right? So like I wasn't gonna let that take me out of competition shooting or let them get in my head. It was more just not a nice person, which happens on both sides of the gender spectrum, right? So like I didn't ever feel like men were looking down on me for anything unless they just weren't nice, and I've had women in the industry also not be nice, right?
Yeah, so it's not a gender thing.
Yeah, it's not a gender thing. It's just that there's not nice people in all walks of life sometimes, and thankfully, gratefully for the vast majority of the shooting experiences I've had, everybody's been very nice and very welcoming.
You want me to tell you, ladies, a secret?
Sure.
I want to know why all the men are sweaty.
Wow, the men are sweaty. That's
Yeah.
just that's a feature. It's a feature of being a man.
Not a
We're
bug.
just lucky that way.
It's a feature, not a
Yeah.
bug.
Maybe I'm projecting. Maybe it's just me. Maybe there are guys out there that no. But I'll tell you guys a secret about guys and guns. I think, in fact, I know. I'm going to say this is objective fact. It is more intimidating for men to be in a room full of guys who are gun guys than it is for women,
100%.
because there's this feeling like we're just supposed to be born with this firearms knowledge of how to use a gun and how to shoot a gun and how to rack the slide and all this other stuff. You're just supposed to know, like coming right out of the womb. If you're a male, you're just supposed to know this stuff. And if you don't, then you get, kind of looked down upon, or at least it feels that way sometimes. I think that for women, like you said, Dakota, gun guys are like, this is great. We want to share our knowledge with you. So jump on in. The water's fine, and let's show you how to use this gun.
Definitely. I will say that sometimes I got advice that wasn't the best. Sometimes it's guys who mean very well and want to help and be supportive, but they're not instructors. They don't actually know how to teach. And so I will say I got some unsolicited bad advice when I was first starting out. But as you get more comfortable, you get more confident saying, oh, actually, I grip the gun this way for a reason. And here's why I'm gripping it like this instead of the way that you're encouraging me to do it. Or, you start to kind of get confident in those decisions on your own. But I do think one of the things I love about being a firearms instructor and being in this industry is that you get to see people come into their own confidence in this sport and in this kind of lifestyle of self-defense. Because a lot of times when people first come to us, I'll kind of speak generally for a lot of instructors. I'm sure we all feel similarly. Like when people come to us, they are, scared. They don't know what they don't know, and they're afraid of messing up. They're afraid of doing something wrong. And it's so fun to watch them get to the place where they're confident and they're comfortable with their gun and they're going to the range on their own and they're checking out competitions. And it's so rewarding. And that's the piece about teaching that I like the most and why I probably will be teaching for a long time.
I'm curious. I work with a lot of men. And I will tell you, going into this, I thought there might be some issues. Right, a female trying to teach a man how to shoot. I'm curious, Dakota, have you had any interesting interactions or anything noteworthy to?
Yeah. So my name is a little ambiguous. Dakota can be a boy's name, and occasionally someone will show up to a class and expect a male instructor. So those have been fun and interesting experiences at times. One of those experiences wasn't necessarily negative, but I walked up to start teaching the class, and out loud, a guy in my CCW class goes, "You're the teacher?" And I was like, yes, I am. I just went right into the beginning of the class. But one thing that I have kind of learned over time is that a lot of times, men and women, but I feel it more on the male side, is that they want to know that you have something that you can teach them. And so I start every class when we do the range time, I start every class with a demonstration of the next drill. And I found that helps kind of guys warm up a little bit sooner, because if you don't watch me shoot until we're an hour into the range day, that whole first hour you might be standing there thinking this girl probably can't even shoot. So if I kind of prove that up front, I found that helps classes go a little bit smoother. But yeah, there's been little things here and there, but nothing that was super egregious.
Nice.
So Dakota, what about Gun Owners Radio for you? You've been on for what, 6, 7, 8 months now, something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I mean, similar to Alicia, I feel like what Gun Owners Radio is doing and what San Diego County Gun Owners does is so in line with what I believe in, what I'm passionate about, what I want to be doing. The political side of the Second Amendment fight is important. And I think a lot of times people get involved in shooting and teaching and, that sort of thing, but they're not branching into the political side of things. And I just found that super, super important. And that's why I was involved in San Diego plaintiff on that case, and I was doing some work, just like writing copy and stuff for some folks who were working on some Second Amendment projects. And I really wanted to have kind of a bigger role in that kind of political side of things. And so when you had approached me about coming on as like a guest for a show, I was like, oh, this will be a fun experience. But then it kind of turned into a permanent spot, and I'm really enjoying it. I think what my hope is that this show is an opportunity for people to hear and learn about things that they wouldn't hear or learn about anywhere else, and that it spurs action. Like if it does nothing else, I hope that you guys listening to this go out and like do a thing, go volunteer at something, go teach somebody how to shoot who's never shot a gun. That's really, if it does that, then I feel like my time is well spent here, and it's making a difference for the Second Amendment and the future of our rights.
That's awesome. All right, last question for both of you. Alicia, you go first.
Okay.
What is something you want everybody to know about you that they may not already know?
Ooh, that's a hard one.
That is so hard.
Oh, you
I
picked
don't
me
like
first.
this question, Mike.
It's digging in,
Mm-hmm.
like what it could be like a hobby we don't know about. It could be about an opinion we don't know about, or it could be about guns or whatever. But something that you just thought to yourself, man, I wish more people knew this about me because it says something about me, and it would help people know you better.
I think that it's kind of an interesting leap here. So stick with me for a moment. So obviously in the gun community, self-defense, right? That's important to me. I will tell you that kind of me as a person, I've kind of grown into this person that, maybe 10 years ago me would look and be like, oh, that's weird. What's going on? I will tell you interesting things about me. I'm also a master gardener. I love to garden. I love to spend time in my yard, and I grow all my own food as much as I can physically make happen on my postage stamp of a yard here in San Diego County. And I really, for me, self-sustainability has become important, and I think that lends well to self-defense, right? I'm going to be my own first responder as well. And so, yeah, I think about me is I'm all about taking care of myself, and that's important to me, and I do pass that on to my kids, or at least I try to. I did homeschool my own children. I have 4. And I really tried to impart to them self-sustainability, accountability, responsibility, and those are things that are important to me. So,
That's awesome. Dakota, same question.
Man, you gave me so much time, and I still am like, what am I going to say? I think things that probably would surprise people. So I am a civil engineer. That's my day job. So I do, a bunch of other things, a girl and a gun, and gun owners radio, and I work for a holster company, and I do a bunch of gun related stuff. But that's all part-time, like evenings and weekends. My day job is civil engineering. I'm a registered licensed engineer in the state of California, and my educational background is actually a little bit unique because I had kind of a different upbringing in a lot of ways, but I didn't go to regular school until I was a senior in high school. So I was homeschooled until 5th grade, and then I had a big gap in my education. I basically did not take any classes from 6th grade until I was a junior in high school. And when I realized at 15, 16 years old that I wasn't going to be able to go to college or get a diploma if I didn't do something about it, my dad and I actually found out like the requirements for Colorado State and what classes you had to take to go into high school as a junior. And we forged transcripts, gave me straight A's, the smart kid apparently, gave me straight A's, forged transcripts, and got me into a public high school in Colorado as an online program for juniors that were struggling academically. And so that was my first foray back into education since 5th grade. And so that junior year of high school, I had multiple tutors. I was working so that I could pay my tutors, and I was taking all these classes online so that people wouldn't realize that I didn't know how to do like basic math and, didn't know what a verb was, didn't know what an adjective was. And so I struggled through that junior year, and then I went to regular public high school my senior year in person, and passed all my classes and stuff, but it was by the skin of my teeth. And so I guess I share that to say that even with all of that like weirdness and the fact that I didn't have a normal education, like you can do anything that you put your mind to. Like I was not good at math. I failed pre-calc in college 3 times. I had to take an academic leave of absence because they were going to kick me out of San Diego State. I went to community college. I paid tutors for like 2 years to teach me math that I had never learned how to do. And I still ended up going and getting a 4-year bachelor's degree in civil engineering and a master's in business, and got my license and took all the tests that you need to take for California. So like, my point is that anybody can do anything that they put their mind to if you just decide that you're going to do it, and if you're stubborn about it, and don't let anybody tell you that you can't, or you're not smart enough, or you're not committed enough, because if you want it, you can be it. So get out there and get it.
So first off, that was wonderful, both of you guys. But here is what I want people to know about both of you that they may not know. You ready for that?
No.
Sure. I got really nervous.
So, no. I'll keep it very general, but I think it's very accurate what I'm about to say. Alicia, I don't think people realize how many people in your life depend on you. You make yourself very crucial in people's lives. And I think that that's a huge testament to you and your character. I think that people in your life and your universe find you very dependable and reliable, and you turn into a crucial part of people's life very, very quickly and very, very easily. And I think that that's just an amazing trait. Dakota, I think people would be surprised at what a kind of a closeted political extremist you really are.
God.
And I'm not going to go any deeper than that. I've just seen glimpses of, oh man, like she's ready to get the pitchforks and the torches and storm the castle.
That is so funny.
Anyway, I appreciate you both very much. I think you guys make the show wonderful, and I think everything that you guys do outside of the show is so valuable. And everybody in the gun world would benefit from hearing more from both of you. So I'm so glad you're both on Gun Owners Radio.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
I'd like to take a moment, though, real quick first. I think we need to hear a little bit about you, Mike.
Oh, everybody knows. I talk about myself all the time. What would you? How about one question? What would you like to know?
One question, Dakota. What's it going to be?
How about the same one you asked us? What's something that people don't know about you?
There you go.
That you haven't shared?
Something that people don't know about me is, despite my job being in politics and being unapologetically extremist on your right to keep and bear arms, I tend not to line up on a modern Republican platform. Mm-hmm. I tend to line up in more of a traditional libertarian conservative type of political bent, I guess. So I don't really line up with the Libertarian Party, and I don't really line up with kind of the modern Republican Party. I'm more of a traditional libertarian. You know, you should take care of yourself. You should not be reliant on the government. The government has a very limited role. Let people live the life they envision, even if I disagree with it. In fact, it's more important to fight for the freedom for people to live the life you disagree with, than to fight for just the rights you do agree with, or just the stances that you agree with, or just the viewpoint you agree with. So if I wasn't a Second Amendment political extremist, I would probably be some kind of libertarian political extremist on a bunch of different fronts. In fact, I think the Republican Party would benefit, conservatives or right of center, however you want to describe them. I think that they would benefit greatly if somebody sat down and wrote an updated Conscience of the Conservative by Barry Goldwater back in the 60s, where he spelled out the platform and said, look, if you're a conservative, this is where you stand on each issue and why. And I think we need a modern version of that, because I think a lot of Republicans have lost their way. And what they think is conservative, or what they think is right of center, or what they think is, MAGA, is not. So there you go.
I like it.
I'll tell you this. I'll end with this. I find that when I'm in a room full of Republicans, I am the least Republican. I find when I'm in a room full of Democrats, I am the least Democrat. So,
Mike, did you notice my shirt today? Speaking of government.
No. What's it say?
Govern me harder.
I heard a guy yesterday. Oh, I should have said this earlier. I heard a guy yesterday. He's an attorney. He's a retired attorney, and we were having coffee. And he said that he thinks it should be a law that every time a new regulation or law is passed, that the person who authored it should be required to read it in front of everybody, on TV, in a German accent. And I thought, that's beautiful.
That is pretty good.
Anyway.
Love it.
Okay, so let's have a talk about, now that we know exactly the experts that you two are in firearms, and I think, by the way, both of you guys know more about guns in general than I do. I'm not a big gun wonk, I don't know everything about every make and model. You guys know way more than I do. So I wanted to read this article by A.W.R. Hawkins, who is a fantastic Second Amendment author. You can find his stuff on Breitbart. He's been a guest speaker for San Diego County gun owners. He's been a guest speaker for Orange County gun owners. He's a very good guy. And his article is DHS memo requires ICE agents to stop carrying certain SIG Sauer service weapons and switch to Glock. A memo from Department of Homeland Security, Deputy Director Madison D. Sheehan, directs Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, authorized officers to shift from certain SIG Sauer P320 handguns to Glock. It was dated July 9th, 2025, obtained by Breitbart News, says ICE authorized officers, quote, will no longer be authorized to carry all models of the SIG Sauer P320 pistols. The memo also directs the officers of firearms and tactical programs to purchase, as soon as practical, a replacement duty handgun for currently affected ICE authorized officers, including those scheduled to be issued in the near term, and to provide a proposed plan within 10 calendar days to, among other items, supply an agency-issued Glock 19 MOS pistol and related equipment to include a micro red dot sight, weapon-mounted light, duty holster, and concealed carry holster to all ICE authorized officers moving forward. And this is apparently, they got this memo from a federal agent who was speaking on condition of anonymity to Breitbart News. So, what do you guys think? What exactly is going on with SIG?
Oh man, that's a question I can't answer. I don't think I don't even think SIG has the answer to that question. what we do know is that there is a concerning trend happening where these firearms are going off, the P320 specifically, going off without the trigger being pressed. And what originally I think, SIG was saying when this latest batch kind of surfaced and got a lot of media attention, what SIG started saying is, well, we understand that these videos appear as though the triggers aren't being pressed, but we think it's like a holster problem. We think the trigger was pressed in the holster. We think that the backpack strap was in the holster somehow. So when the cop, in that one where the cop puts her backpack down and the gun shoots itself off. So there were all these stories that they kind of concocted of, this is what we think is being shown in these videos, but our gun has no problem. And I think that was SIG's position, after they did the voluntary upgrade. After that, they've kind of held the same position that there's nothing wrong with these guns. They don't fire on their own. I think that it's a complex engineering issue that we probably won't have a very clear answer to until there have been a lot of these guns that actually have malfunctioned in this way studied. So far, I think we've only really seen one. The FBI did a report on a 320 that fired in the holster. And that, to my knowledge, is the first time that the FBI has studied a gun that wasn't manipulated after the shot went off. So the gun was exactly how it had been when it fired. It was kept in the holster, and it was given to the folks who were going to do the study. I don't think that has happened in any other of the cases. I think usually the gun gets taken out of the holster, somebody clears it out, a partner, the law enforcement officer's partner, sees this happen, takes the gun, empties it, those types of things. So it's uncommon that we would see the exact same 320 that had this problem get studied post uncommanded discharge. So I think we'll get more interesting information as there's more research done on it. But from everything that we've seen and everything that is available online, it does appear that the P320 occasionally fires without the trigger being moved.
Couple thoughts I have on this one. If it's a holster problem, if it's a backpack strap problem, why is it not happening with any other guns?
Right.
I mean, or is it?
Right.
Is it? I'm not hearing about it.
No.
Another thought I have is, SIG did say they reworked the trigger, they made modifications, they fixed it. Are these the older ones or are these the newer ones? That I've not seen detailed either. So just some thoughts that I had on that.
Now, is it just the P320, or is there any other SIG that this is happening to?
As far as I know, it's just the 320.
Just the 320 so far. I think there's been some potential, kind of internet talk, some concerns about other SIGs, but I haven't seen anything verified. I haven't seen any video of any other platform. The 320 videos, some of them are so clear cut, there was one where an officer had his duty belt on. His hands were nowhere near the gun. He's holding on to things, including his keys, which was one of the things that I think SIG had said, well, maybe his keys got in the holster. Well, his keys were in his hand. There's very clear video that we can point to that shows these guns going off with no change in, the gun being touched, no bumping of the gun, nothing like that. So I think as this is replicated, hopefully in testing, hopefully there will be, folks who are able to replicate the firearm actually firing without the trigger being moved. That would be a big step into knowing exactly what is causing this problem. But there's that FBI report that came out the other day. I can't remember when it came out, but if you search FBI report on the 320, I think it's like 3 or 4 days old at this point, as far as when it was published or when the public got a hold of it. They talk quite a bit about some speculation that they have as far as what the problems could be. And it sounds to me like it has to kind of be this perfect perfect setup of multiple things going wrong inside the gun, maybe under recoil, maybe after so many rounds, whatever the case may be. These things just end up lining up perfectly so that the sear safety doesn't work, I think is kind of what the FBI study is alleging. And for people who aren't following this issue, these uncommanded discharges have been reported since like 2016. So this is not a new problem.
Right.
It's just getting a lot more traction now because it seems to be happening on video more. And before, I think a lot of these cases were like, a law enforcement agency instructor seeing a student have a negligent discharge on the line and not being positive if it was an uncommanded discharge where the gun just went off on its own, or if it was like a student error that resulted in the gun going off when they were reholstering or something like that. So now that we have so much more videos of this issue and a lot more, I think, evidence that it's not being touched, that the gun is not being manipulated at any point during some of these, that's starting kind of this new wave of people being very concerned about it. But I think it's over 100 alleged uncommanded discharges at this point, and injuries to dozens and dozens of people. I think over 80 people have shot themselves or someone nearby with these alleged uncommanded discharges.
So I can't think of a bigger problem for a gun.
Yeah.
Like
It's
this
a giant
is
problem.
this is the granddaddy. Yeah, this is the granddaddy of all problems.
Yes.
When it comes to any gun. It going off without it being touched is as bad as it gets mechanically, for optics, politically, like across the board. I do want to, I don't think that this would dissuade me from purchasing a SIG. I do think it would, I don't think I'm going to purchase a P320, but I don't think this would keep me away from all SIG products and not even all SIG guns. I don't know. What do you guys think?
For me personally, I'm holding judgment. I like SIG for a lot of things. I like a lot about SIG, but I personally don't yet own one, and I'm kind of holding off. It's not that I don't trust them. I need more facts and information before I personally will be comfortable. I will say, I know there's a lot of talk about the whole concept of them using some of the components of hammer fire on a striker. Is that part of the cause? If that's the case, are there any other guns that have that design that have those same components in a striker and are having these issues? I don't know.
Yeah, knowing how slow government moves, the fact that many law enforcement agencies, like big agencies, I think Chicago PD is one of them. I think I heard that Denver either already has or is in the process of banning 320s for their officers. Like, to me, I work for the government. I know how slow things can be. Knowing that the fact that there are still so many agencies who are banning them makes me think that this problem is important and should be paid attention to. Whether or not there's issues on other SIG platforms is hard to know because we don't have every PD, or not every, but a lot of PDs in the country issuing 320s. We don't have military contracts, right? So like if the 365 was on a military contract, we'd probably see a lot more information and have a lot more data about whether or not there's a problem with that platform. I don't know. I carry a SIG 365 XL. I don't know that I'm going to be changing my carry gun over this, but I will say that I probably will not be purchasing another SIG, at least not for a long time, because I really don't like how they have handled this. I think that SIG Sauer is ran by people who care about the bottom line of the company and who are probably not doing the thing that they know is the right thing to do with this issue. SIG's position this whole entire time has been there's nothing wrong with our gun. But I think they know that there is.
That's a body blow. That's body blow after body blow from Dakota. Yeah,
Yeah, sorry.
I don't think I'm certainly not saying you're wrong. I'm certainly not arguing, but yeah, I think that is a tough, that's a tough dose of medicine. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. It would be hard for me to support them in the future unless I see them have a big change in the way that they are talking about this. There haven't been any. One of the things that bugs me about this whole thing is that one of the folks at SIG has talked to a lot of people who have come out about issues they've seen or videos, video evidence that they have, and they have basically said to people that I know in the industry who have talked about this, they have told those people, hey, this is really kind of slander for you to be talking about our product this way. And there's actually like a letter that SIG has sent people that is talking about how they shouldn't be talking about the problems with the P320 the way they are. And I don't like that at all. I think, why shut people down? Why try to stop them from talking about these issues? Let's apologize for what we know is SIG's fault, right? Like, SIG has some blame in this and they know it, but they just haven't, they have not taken ownership of this at all. And I'm sure it's a financial decision for them. Like, I'm sure that this would be very, very difficult for them to come back from, because they have so many military contracts and everything. So I feel empathetic towards the folks who work at SIG. I'm sure it's not a good time to be a SIG employee at the moment, but it is people's lives we're talking about. And if this firearm is going off on its own, it could kill people, and it has already injured many people, and I think that's a big problem.
I think my hot take on this is, when everybody, it used to be that if you were a cop, you carried a Glock, and you probably carried a Glock 19. And a few years ago, people started, or I should say departments started issuing contracts to different manufacturers. I don't know what they're doing. I honestly, if you're a cop, carry a Glock 19 and be done with it. I don't think that there's something that cops do that is so sophisticated or so different that a Glock 19 just can't handle it. I don't know. I'm sure somebody could sit here and talk to me about some cost analysis or contract or whatever, but I also know that we're sitting here talking about, an entire federal law enforcement department changing back to a Glock from a SIG. I really honestly believe that if you're a law enforcement, whether you're a police department, a sheriff's department, or you're federal law enforcement, just carry a Glock 19 and be done with it. You guys, they're not marksmen. They're not, they're not fighting in a war zone. It's such a tried and true platform. Just stick with the Glock 19 and stop screwing around. That's probably my hot take.
I don't really have any opinion on what gun cops should carry. I guess for me, one of the things I think of is, like, just as a female firearms instructor and someone who teaches women, a lot of times agencies require their people to all use the same exact gun. And sometimes that is very detrimental to the female officers who are struggling with the recoil or the size of the gun. And men's hands vary in size too. So it's also probably negatively impacting the folks with smaller hands on the male side as well. But I do think it would be good if more agencies allowed a little bit of variation to allow the person to actually have the best marksmanship that they can. Because sometimes, like, I've worked with folks in law enforcement, women specifically, who are struggling with their duty pistol, and it's their only option because their agency doesn't allow them to have any modifications. They can't even, like, change the size of the grip on the gun or put a different palm swell in. So, I do think that there's some room for improvement there, but I don't know that I have an opinion on what gun cops should carry. I do like the Glock 19. I have one. I have a Glock 17 too. I think it's a good platform, but
I prefer the 17 for carry for I will say duty. And every agency is a little bit different. There are some that actually will allow their employees, their law enforcement officers, to carry something different. And there's some that will not allow it, and those that do, often there's a legal side to it, and paperwork and liability and things that have to be waived. And each agency gets to decide how they're going to handle that and run that, and some just don't allow any variation, which is unfortunate.
Okay, thank you guys for shedding some light on that. I honestly haven't been following the story very closely, so I appreciate it very much. Let's move on to endorsements. Huge endorsement announcements from 3 different organizations, and I wanted to talk about it. Let's start with Inland Empire Gun Owners PAC. Inland Empire Gun Owners PAC is the sister PAC, the San Diego County Gun Owners PAC and Orange County Gun Owners PAC. And they just announced, if you go to the website, inlandempiregunowners.com/voter guide, you will see that last week they decided to endorse Chad Bianco, the Riverside County Sheriff, for California governor. So congratulations very much to Chad Bianco. I don't think it's any surprise that Inland Empire gun owners would endorse him for governor. He is, of course, their sheriff. And they're in Riverside anyway. Inland Empire is Riverside and San Bernardino. But Chad Bianco, not only is he probably my favorite elected official, but he's also, I mean, the guy walks on water in Riverside.
Yeah.
He is so popular and well-liked in Riverside. There's just no question that the Inland Empire area, especially Riverside, is definitely going to favor him when it comes to governor. They've seen him firsthand, how he works and acts as an elected official. And he is, without a doubt, we've interviewed him a number of times. He is, without a doubt, a pro-Second Amendment sheriff, and no question that he should have been endorsed for governor by Inland Empire gun owners. So congratulations. Next, we're going to go to Orange County Gun Owners. Orange County Gun Owners PAC is, of course, the sister organization to Inland Empire and San Diego County Gun Owners PACs. And if you go to ocgunowners.com/voter guide, you'll see they have 2 endorsements up already. They also endorsed Sheriff Chad Bianco for California governor. And they are endorsing for District 34 State Senate Rhonda Shader, who was our guest on Gun Owners Radio a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was last week. This, of course, is not the end. There's going to be a lot more endorsements, both in Inland Empire and in Orange County. This is for the June 2nd, 2026 election. But I think it was pretty obvious in both cases that Bianco for governor, and then in Orange County, Rhonda Shader for state senate. It was pretty obvious. So boom, early endorsements, even though it's about a year in advance, 11 months in advance. So what you want to do is help them promote both candidates by joining either Inland Empire Gun Owners by going to inlandempiregunowners.com, or support Orange County Gun Owners by going to orangecountygunowners.com, and make sure that they have the resources they need in order to reach every single Second Amendment advocate in those districts and get them to vote for the right candidate. So the third is San Diego County Gun Owners. San Diego County Gun Owners, if you go to sdcgo.org/voter guide, you will see that San Diego County Gun Owners endorsed a number of people. Basically, the board decided that, hey, there's a number of people that are running for re-election who we've endorsed in the past, who have an excellent track record, so we're just going to go ahead and not even wait. We are going to endorse them early. But the secret is, I'll tell you, little inside baseball, one of the catalysts for this is State Senate District 40. Christy Bruce Lane is running. We have endorsed her in the past. She is a big advocate for San Diego County Gun Owners. She's a huge advocate for Not Me. She is kind of a no-brainer endorsement. We knew we were going to endorse her. That was the catalyst for taking a look at a number of other people and saying, hey, we normally wait until like January, the year of the election, but we're going to go ahead and jump in early. She's running against another Republican who's basically claiming to be a big Second Amendment advocate, but his words and track record, they don't bear that out. So we thought it was important, hey, we need to make a statement right now to support the people that we want to make sure get through the primary. So I'm not going to read off all the names, but just to highlight, so State Senate District Christy Bruce Lane, that is State Senate District 40, Christy Bruce Lane, State Assembly District 75, everyone knows Carl DeMaio. County supervisor up in North County, which is District 5, Jim Desmond is being termed out. So we are backing John Franklin. County Assessor Jordan Marks, he has done a wonderful job for San Diego County gun owners. Carlsbad Mayor Keith Blackburn, City Council District 1 in Carlsbad, Melanie Burkholder. Both those guys have supported San Diego County gun owners from day one. In La Mesa, Laura Lothian is somebody that, frankly, she wouldn't be in office if not for the amazing help from San Diego County gun owners and its members. She's running for re-election. We want to make sure that she gets re-elected. And Dane White in Escondido, the mayor, wonderful Second Amendment advocate. And there's a lot of really good people in this list. Bill Wells in El Cajon, Gary Kendrick in El Cajon, Mike Sinella in San Marcos. And I want to quickly call to your attention a brand new guy who's running for office for the first time. He's actually running for fire board up in Fallbrook. And his name is Cole Marting, C-O-L-E Marting, M-A-R-T-I-N-G. I think he has a bright future. I think that he is extremely knowledgeable and motivated, and it was very important to him to get the San Diego County gun owners endorsement. So we said absolutely. We vetted him, of course, but he definitely fits the profile of a candidate that we want to endorse. So there you go. So check it out. Support San Diego County gun owners so that we can support all these candidates. There will be a lot more, but this is just the first early round. So look for more down the road. But right now, support San Diego County gun owners, support Orange County gun owners, support Inland Empire gun owners in their endorsements.
Let's be honest, you've yelled at your TV during a gun debate, maybe even thrown a shoe. Well, now you can do something way more productive and way less weird. Join the Pew Pew crew. It's like a VIP lounge for people who know the difference between cover and concealment and aren't afraid to correct that guy at the range. You'll get exclusive content, member-only perks, and the satisfying feeling of supporting the one show that actually fights for your gun rights and makes you laugh while doing it. So stop rage scrolling and do something useful. Hit that join button on YouTube and become a proud member of the Pew Pew crew. Thank you for listening. This was a great show. We talked about a lot of stuff, and we're so happy you were here with us. Have a great night.